Yeah, when we look at Philo in the CTV space, I guess we're looking at it from two perspectives. One is, for the consumer, Philo is a virtual MVPD. We have 60 plus channels of linear content, that's really focused on entertainment, knowledge, and lifestyle packages. And this is all the cable favorites that people are used to, from whether it's Hallmark holiday movies, which are popular right now, or seeing the latest season of Yellowstone on Paramount Plus. We have content from the Discovery channels, from AMC networks, from A&E networks. We have a 1-year unlimited DVR. We have over 50,000 titles of VOD content. So we see us as being, really the best value for consumers at the $25 price point. And then when we're looking at this from the advertiser perspective, we've leaned in completely into programmatic and resellers. I mean, we've heard for years that, the wave of the future is programmatic television. And we just dove deep in there. We didn't inherit a direct sales team, so we just didn't build a direct sales team. And so what that means for, the advertisers are that, we're not in a cycle of upfronts and then trying to fill those or make it. We're in a place where we can scale as our growth scales. And in fact, I think this last month has been, pretty incredible growth for Philo from subscriber base. And we've been able to keep up with, the increased inventory, with more eyeballs and more people watching through our programmatic means. So advertisers can find the audiences they want through the content they want, anytime, any place on Philo. And so the scale of being able to work through those programmatic means has been very successful for us.
Now, we hear a lot about contextual, and I know that you're addressing that. Could you explain, how contextual targeting works for you and in the context of programmatic?
Yeah, so, when people are watching ads, and we see people watching, linear television on Philo, they're watching more than 80% of the time, on the live edge, more than 98% of the time on their connected television device. So what that means is when they're watching programming, the ads are actually all part of the experience for the consumer. So depending on what you're watching, you don't want the ads to be out of context and sort of jarring to what you're watching. And so what that means is that when you're looking at a programming stream, we're passing genre and ratings. So the programmatic folks upstream can know this is the type of content my ad is going to go in. And so this works sort of two ways for the advertiser. One is, let's say you have a new horror movie coming out. You can, target on the horror genre. Or for instance, you don't want to have your content associated with anything that's bloody or TV MA. You can reverse target and say, I don't want, my ad to play on anything within these, those types of programming. So it also allows for a lot of brand safety in the programmatic world around where your ads are going to play. And it sort of is, back in the broadcast days when people are buying linear broadcast, they were buying a show, so they knew what they were playing in. It's very similar to that gives that same sort of protection and sort of confidence for an advertiser to know where they're placing their ads.
Not to get too deep in the weeds around ad ops, but how does that work with your SSP, or do you do that directly?
Right.
What are some of the keys of targeting, in a contextual manner?
Yeah, so what we do is we get information from the programmers. This is the information the programmers have sent out to, the guides, whether it's your electronic program guide or TV guide back in the day. So we're taking those genres and those ratings that are applied by the programmers, and they send to us. We send those into the ad call. So we put them into the content object, into the the VAS calls that we're sending out to our demand partners. And those can then be grouped by the demand partners in however they want to make sure that they're getting, they're able to see that. They see that as part of the calls, the same way that they're using first, second, or third party data to find an audience based on the signals we're sending around device or IP address. They're able to then also see those same signals that we're sending for genre and rating to be able to group those into targets that we would assign maybe a private marketplace deal, or maybe a programmatic direct deal, or some other deal that goes across publishers.
As you guys are running contextual advertising on CTV, how does that work, and how do you work with partners, and what are some of the challenges?
So when we first started looking at, how Philo was going to pass contextual signals, and it really came from a request from one of our DSP partners a little over 3 years ago. We had a couple of challenges that we wanted to look at. Philo is programmatic first in the way we look at advertising. That means that, when an advertiser is looking to buy reach across the US, they're looking for 100 million households. That's the US. We don't quite have 100 million households yet, although getting close, but we don't release those numbers anyway. So what that means is that we need to find a standard way to not only send the signals, but have the signals recognized across the board. As far as sending the signals, we rely on IAB standards on where we're passing that within the ad call. We had heard other folks had been overloading certain fields. We try to stay with standardization wherever we can, because we think that's important for everyone to be able to work off the same songbook. Then the second thing that happens is we want to make sure that they can look at those genres and recognize them. When we first started talking to people, they were talking about IAB genres, use the IAB genres, but those genres are really based on websites. So for instance, there's one called Pharma. Grey's Anatomy is not a pharma show. There are no pharma television dramas on television. They may be medical dramas, they may be dramas. So we had to say, let's look at what the source of truth is for what the genres actually are. And that source of truth for us really is the programmer. So, for years and years, the programmers have provided genres and ratings for their content on a program specific level, to electronic program guides or other program guides you've seen, so that they can actually be used in a standard format there. And so we've been working with our partners on the demand side upstream. They may say, yes, we can accept those genres. There's about 200 of those, I believe, and they will typically be more than one for a piece of content. So for instance, Iron Chef would end up having cooking and competition, in the genres. And so we can group them with some partners using both of those fields. Other partners wanted to have a more limited, they brought their own set of genres to the table. And so we've worked with them to create a matching table, basically to say, if it's a sitcom, oh, that matches to comedy or matches to entertainment. Some people use the IMDb genres. I mean, there are different, people have their own set of sort of definitions they want to use. The same way when we're talking about audience targeting, when we're passing device ID and IP address, and people are using their own sets of data to determine, yes, I know that this household is going to be, left-handed cat owners. They're doing the same thing with genre and contextual targeting. They're able to match it up to what they can see, with their, universal decoder ring, as it were. So we pass those genres, and either on upstream, the DSP, the SSP, or even farther back, are matching that to their set of genres they want. So we know what that matching is based on the matching table, or they're able to take the genres that we send them and able to match that up. And then we work with the DSPs and the brands to create packages, private marketplace deals that'll be targeted or detargeted to certain genres or ratings based on what the customer desires. Because at the end of the day, we have a conversation and a partnership with all of our demand partners. And it's really about, what do you need? How can we best provide that to you? And let's figure out how to sort of standardize things together. We always try to be, we're a highly engineering focused company. We're always trying to be out there doing what the advertisers need from an advertising perspective to bring more value to them on what Philo's bringing. We're trying to build the standards and trying to set the standards for what's coming forward. So that's how we're working in the contextual advertising.